Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon. Good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frank Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we've allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, well, we ask that you join the cause. Make sure that you subscribe and follow all of our social media platforms. Currently, right now, this live program is being streamed on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Facebook. And we could be found under Frankie Olivo. Make sure you follow our personal page on Facebook. We could be found under Olivo Frankie. But more importantly, if you haven't already, make sure that you create a Gmail account, go to YouTube, like, follow, and subscribe to our channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. It's free. Remember, I will never ever ask you for money. I will never ever ask you for food. All I ask of my community is something very simple. Be down for the cause. All I ask is a simple subscription and a follow on all of our social media platforms. It won't cost you a dime. I promise. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and sometimes a little bit after, religiously. So make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Frankie Olivo TV, to tune in. We will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, we are forever grateful to each and every one of you for the time and attention that you provide us. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Tuesday. I hope each and every one of you had a great start to your week. Just think, we are 2 weeks away from the holidays beginning, all the festivities, my favorite time of year. We also are, I guess, dealing with change in weather. A lot to talk about today. We have an interesting program lined up today. Before it escapes my mind, today BISD will be having their monthly board meeting, and several interesting things that are on the agenda. One is a teacher stipend of $750. Many are stating that there are restrictions. Not everyone will qualify, but we'll get into that tomorrow. Also, they will be having presentations for the position of school attorney. We'll cover that tomorrow in greater detail. Again, today, BISD board will be having a meeting, the monthly meeting at 5:30 on Price Road. What else? I'm forgetting something. It'll always come back to me. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was a very interesting day. Yesterday we got word. Yesterday was a deadline to file for the 2026 primaries. We saw throughout the state of Texas how they were a bunch of moves here and there. At the Senate level, we had United States Congresswoman Crockett out of the Houston area did announce her candidacy for senator. That ultimately led for Colin Allred to drop out of the race and declare his candidacy for the newly formed 33rd congressional district. Democrats have a lot to look forward to. And the way it usually works, ladies and gentlemen, is that whoever's in the White House tend to take a dip in the midterm elections. We saw how President Trump was able to bring about this red wave that so many people had highly anticipated. We saw how the Democratic Party, even here locally, was decimated. Something that here in Brownsville, in the Valley, we were not used to. For far too long, this area has been a hard D. No, not that one. But hardcore blue. So many anticipate the Democratic Party having their own blue wave, so to speak, in this midterm elections. Here locally, we saw how yesterday's deadline did cause a lot of hysteria. Today, we titled our program, The Thrilla the Thrilla in Manila. We have two formidable challengers that have stepped forward to contest the long held seat of Cameron County Judge, setting the stage for one of the most competitive local races in years. And if you are like me, it's going to be a doozy. The incumbent, Eddie Trevino, known for a steady administrative style and an ambitious approach to a county growth, now faces opponents who bring sharply defined visions and substantial community backing. One contender is the Port of Brownsville Chairman, who is promising modernization and greater transparency, while the other is a former sheriff, emphasizing public safety and fiscal discipline. Now, as each candidate rallies support and contrast their priorities with the judge's record, the voters ultimately are prepared for a choice that could significantly reshape the county's leadership and future direction moving forward. It's going to be one battle for the ages. Before we start, ladies and gentlemen, the main story out of yesterday's filing deadline was from the Democratic Party, but something that many people didn't hear about was the Republican Party. We got word that the chairwoman for the Republican Party of Cameron County did not file for re-election. Many people were anticipating for her to refile. As you all know, whenever an incumbent is in office, usually for the most part, they're always quick to make sure that they announce, possibly to deter any potential foes in the race. Sometimes it's just a way of flexing, of saying, we're strong, we're doing great things. I'm running once again. Many insiders were stunned to learn that Deborah Bell did not file for re-election, ending her term, her 2-year term as chairwoman for the Republican Party. Now, many people were left scratching their heads. Why? How could this be? Now, many people, as we can just imagine, understand that public office is very difficult. It is one that consumes you and takes over your life in every sense of the word. Whenever someone runs for public office, and especially for a seat that doesn't have a salary, it could take its toll. Many aren't aware of the grind, of the wear and tear it does to a person's soul. It could take a lot out of one. Deborah Bell was critical of the former administration, and she said that at her helm, there would be drastic changes. How will Deborah Bell be remembered by her colleagues, by her own party? Many anticipated that she would go on to bigger races, a bigger stage. What is sad to learn was that it wasn't so. She just didn't file. Now, there have been frictions among the Republican Party, and one thing that I've heard is that there is no confidence in this current leadership. We have been very adamant and vocal about the party openly endorsing, encouraging, how Susan likes to call it, the Republicans to vote for known Democrats in the city of Brownsville municipal races. Is that the lasting legacy that Deborah Bell will have? How her party spent hundreds of dollars to get Democrats elected? I find that funny because this is a party that always talks about transplants. They're always very critical of, you're not a Republican, go away. Heck, I consider myself a Republican. Deborah Bell said that I'm not. What happened behind the scenes was something that was very shocking. Deborah Bell and Susan Rubalcaba thought that they could consolidate their power within the party and they would be able to withstand the rigors, adversity, only to be found now people laughing at them and saying, you bit off more than you can chew. Lorraine De Leon out of Harlingen did file for chairwoman for the Republican Party late yesterday evening. What we learned was that Deborah Bell did not take too kind to this. Now, was this premeditated? Did she have this in mind where she wasn't going to run? Possibly. Many people are also saying that the reason why she chose not to run was because she possibly upset someone that is very formidable and will be running, and someone who she pissed off. Now, for those that aren't aware, Mayra Flores is a very formidable candidate, and there is no question that she has, and right now, as of right now, she is the front runner for the GOP out of the 34th Congressional District. What this started out as a catfight ultimately ended up costing Deborah Bell her position. Deborah Bell, along with Susan, have been very critical against Mayra Flores. Now, I understand we all have our candidates, right? We all have our preferences. We choose to vote for possibly individuals that we believe in. And maybe we get disenchanted with a candidate and now we don't want to support them. We've seen that happen election after election, right? But these women, they took it to a whole new level. They made things personal. According to insiders, Deborah Bell took pictures of Mayra Flores' family, of her children, and shared it with a blogger to create this false narrative of Mayra Flores and trying to shame her. At the end of the day, those allegations are false. What has been happening behind closed doors with the Republican Party is that they've seen that their candidate of choice, Eric Flores, is not gaining traction here in District 34 and in Washington. Individuals thought that they could come, put their name on the ballot, and be competitive against someone such as Mayra Flores, who has been working at this for the past 5-6 years in this area. Deborah Bell, along with Susan Rubalcaba and other party leadership, turned their backs on Mayra and have made things very personal. So what? Y'all thought Mayra Flores was gonna stand in the sidelines? They say whoever laughs last always laughs the best. Lorraine De Leon, it is said to be having the backing of Mayra Flores. If you aren't aware of who Mayra Flores is, she is a great campaigner. We can make the argument that because of Mayra Flores, Janie Lopez, Rep. Adam Hinojosa, Senator, and Deborah Bell, Chairwoman, got elected this past November. Mayra's team was actively campaigning and rallying the raza, rallying her constituents to go out and vote for the Republican ticket, including those 3 names that I just mentioned. What did you think Mayra Flores was going to do? So it's interesting to learn how Deborah Bell was ousted by someone like Mayra. Not literally, but she knew what was coming. She knows. Susan knows. Why do you think that Susan is now throwing out the name Scott Mandel? Because numbers are out. And in this game, whenever you're running a race of 750,000 voters, is very real. And once your candidate is polling in the single digits, possibly a little bit over 10, it's not a good look. Mayra Flores is a heavyweight, a powerhouse, and they chose to mess with the wrong person. What will Deborah Bell's legacy be? Would it be a laughing stock? Will she be remembered as one of the greats who moved the party? At the end of the day, she did nothing. What could she hang her hat on? That she helped elect Democrats into office? The Ligon Rankin dinner, she never brought Governor Abbott. At least Morgan could hang her hat and say, hey, we had Ted Cruz, we had Governor Abbott, we had this, we had that. Now, in all fairness, Laura Trump is supposed to speak at the Lincoln Reagan dinner in February. We could give them that, but many people are saying, whoa, that's a little bit, a high price tag. Is the party able going to, stay afloat after that 50,000 charge that they're going to get? At the end of the day, what ended up happening with the Republican Party is someone squirm, someone buckle under pressure, someone realized that Mayra Flores is going to be the Republican nominee for Congressional District 34. And karma, as they say, is a B. How will Deborah Bell be remembered these past 2 years? We could make the argument that Deborah Bell will be remembered as someone who got her own party, someone who claims that they are against transplant candidates. To endorse, spend money on Democrats. What an embarrassment, Deborah Bell. On the Democratic side, we had a lot of action. We saw from the candidates who put their name in the ring. Judge Janet Leal, Juan Magallanes, and Adela Kowalski Garza are running unopposed. The interesting race that everybody is following and is already placing their bets is Chuy Garcia, Noe Garza, and Aaron Hernandez Garcia vying for the 107th District Court. Is there a candidate in that race that will be able to win without a runoff? It's going to be a doozy. Many people are saying that because Aaron Hernandez Garcia and Noe Garza are from Brownsville, maybe they have the upper hand. They're all attorneys and possibly have tentacles throughout the county. And these types of races, it will cost anywhere from $250,000 easily, I would dare say. Possibly more. The judge's salary, I think, is a little bit over $180,000, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very prestigious position, prestigious job. Who do you have your vote on? Is it going to be a runoff, or is there someone that's going to be able to rise amongst the rest? For Justice of the Peace throughout Cameron County, we had Bo Ochoa and Jessica Gonzalez and Eloy Cano, the only ones that were running unopposed. Well, Cindy Hinojosa as well, Mary Esther Sorolla as well, will be running unopposed in the Democratic primary. Noe Alanis, attorney and current or former San Benito municipal judge, and Rene Villafranca will be duking it out. Out of the Los Fresnos area for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Juan Mendoza, the incumbent, is being challenged by attorney Anselmo Naranjo and Gabby Fernandez. County clerk's race is going to be a highly contested one as well. Silvia Garza is being challenged by BISD board member Denise Garza. Laura Perez is running unopposed for district clerk. County treasurer, again, another highly contested race. Who's going to win? David Betancourt, one who has served for 20 plus years, or the challenger, Jonathan Gracia? The Betancourt name is someone that has been very powerful, a sister and a father who have served and are currently serving on the bench. Will the Betancourt name prevail in this upcoming race against Jonathan Gracia? One thing that should not be overlooked is that Gracia is going to work. Gracia is going to spend. You're not going to out hustle a Gracia. That's for sure. What's going to resonate with the people? It is our belief that Jonathan Gracia will be able to be the Democratic nominee for Cameron County Treasurer leading up to November. And in regards to the county judges, they're running unopposed. Commissioner Precinct 2, that's going to be another one to follow. We have a Lucio, a Lopez, and Arambula. Who's going to win that battle? But one race that ultimately ended up sticking out over the others was none other than the Cameron County judge race. This is something, ladies and gentlemen, that many people have anticipated for someone such as Steve Guerra to run against incumbent Eddie Trevino. Insiders say that the reason why this is happening is multifaceted. One is that Eddie Trevino told Congressman Vicente Gonzalez something about Steve that Steve did not like. That pissed him off, and he said, you know what? I'm going to run against that guy. Juan Montoya yesterday did post that many people are stating that the reasons why this is because this is Steve Guerra's strategy. We have seen previously in county races how a three-way race has ultimately benefited the challengers, which ultimately led to a runoff. We have the examples of, in previous years, of Eddie Garza, who was a district clerk at that time while he stepped down. He ended up challenging Omar Lucio. Eric Prevail. Also in recent years, we saw how Eddie Garcia benefited from having someone such as Smiley in the race against Tony Saguirre. We saw how Eddie Garcia was able to beat Tony Saguirre, someone who was in office for decades, in a runoff. Did Steve Guerra see this strategy and say, maybe this is something that I could benefit from? Now, there were many questions in regards to what party is Steve going to run. And we were criticized for it because everyone said Steve's a hardcore blue. What do you mean? He's a precinct chair for the party. There's no way Steve's going to run for the Republicans. There's no way. You're crazy. We heard from multiple sources that Steve was entertaining the idea. Whenever we think of legacy, whenever we think of egos, these men want to have a lasting impression. They want to be remembered for doing great things. Well, we hope that's every politician's expectations, right? That they want to provide a better quality of life. They want to put measures in place to where their area is going to benefit economically. There'll be prosperity. There'll be the Rio Grande Valley will recognize that Brownsville Cameron County is a place to live because of all these great benefits. Having the relationship with, let's say, a governor who is Republican and the presidential administration in the White House, would it benefit a Republican, let's say Mauro Garza, who will be facing whoever comes out of this Democratic race? Would it benefit Cameron County from having a Republican county judge? We understand that these issues, for the most part, they are, bipartisan. Whenever you have issues of flooding, issues of, FEMA in previous years, that is the reason why many people were making the argument that Steve Guerra was entertaining the idea of running as a Republican, because maybe the county would benefit more if we had a county judge, and maybe we would get a lot more benefits. I'm not saying that our current county judge isn't bringing opportunities to our area. He has, and it comes with a caveat, we understand, but at least something is done. And we'll go that in a little bit in more detail. By Steve Guerra running and filing at the 11th hour, many people said this was calculated. This was worked out. For those that aren't aware, Steve Guerra openly endorsed and supported Eddie Garza when he ran for Cameron County Sheriff. Is this a ploy to where Eric is just supposed to take away votes from Eddie Trevino? If you go to our Facebook page and this post that we made the announcement that this race is going to be a contested one, many people were vocal, were supportive of a candidate, threw mud at another candidate. People are saying it's time for change. Sources are starting to say that there is a possibility that this race could be won without a runoff. It just depends who you talk to. People are questioning, if we take Eric Garza, for example, how was his tenure at the sheriff's office? Many people have stated that it was so bad he couldn't manage. He had no experience in that department, that it ultimately led to his oust. People are saying, if he's not able to run the sheriff's office, imagine running a county. I always try and provide you the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Sometimes I try to play devil's advocate to give you a different perspective. I think it's always good whenever we talk about the opportunities for Cameron County. Being a politician, I don't want to undermine them. I know we're critical of them for the most part, but we understand that this position is very difficult. It's a grind. It consumes one. Being a politician, an elected leader, you have to take drastic measures. At the end of the day, they're responsible with providing opportunity, providing better quality of life for you and I. At least that is my idea of it. How will Eddie Garza be remembered for his time as a judge, a sheriff, and now wants to be a judge? People are pointing the finger and saying, hey, you didn't manage. How can you no puedes con lo poquito, ¿cómo puedes con lo mucho? Now, there are many reasons why Eddie Garza wasn't able to fulfill his duties. Many are saying that the commissioner's court, they went after him. They made his life difficult. We can talk about the lawsuit where the issue in question was providing security for the judges. According to statute, that belongs to the sheriff. the bailiff, security at the courthouse for the judges. They try to wrestle that away from Eddie Garza. That gave him bad press. Another big issue was the raises. He was actively trying to gain funds for his department. These positions of jailer, law enforcement officer, they come with great risk. But for measly pay, they were losing deputies to Brownsville PD and to the federal government. Many people say that's the reason why Eddie Garza failed, because he had no support from Commissioner's Court. Steve Guerra is the ultimate politician. And again, this has been a known secret that Steve was going to run for county judge. The interesting thing about this case is he going to have the support? Whenever I think of county races, you have to have support north to south, east to west. We have seen how someone such as Eddie Trevino has been able to withstand formidable opponents. In recent times, Carlos Cascos, who many thought of very highly, they thought there's no way Carlos Cascos could lose to Eddie Trevino. At that time, Eddie Trevino was receiving a lot of bad press because of Tenasca. And I'm sure these issues are going to come up once again. One thing that we can state is that this race is going to be expensive. I will dare make the argument that this race will be easily $250,000. Easily. We have Mauro Garza on the Republican side, who has $1 million ready to blow. I have no question Steve Guerra has deep pockets. No question. He is the ultimate politico, he could raise funds. That's not an issue. Same thing with Eddie Trevino. Deep pockets. They're ready to spend. That's not going to be an issue. What is the issue going to be for these three candidates? To me, it's support. Who's going to support them? Brownsville being the largest city in the county, obviously, you would need a great support in this area to be able to withstand these formidable opponents. Yesterday, when Steve Guerra announced, he posted a picture of friends and family. And one individual that stood out to me was Constable Abel Gomez. They say that politics makes for strange bedfellows. Things change in a New York minute. One day you could be my friend. The next day, I'm questioning why you're supporting my opponent. Insiders have stated that the same people that supported Eddie Trevino throughout the years have actively gotten Abel Gomez elected. Are people turning their backs on Eddie Trevino? Do they see the writing on the wall, maybe? Was Steve able to convince someone such as Abel and say, hey, I have the best chance. Join my team. Why did Abel make this jump? As they say, pues los chapulines brincan cuando ven oportunidad. There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty in politics. All is fair in love, war, and Cameron County politics. Does Steve Guerra have the support throughout the county needed in order to challenge someone such as Eddie Trevino, who has time in and time out shown us that he's going to spend money? Money's not an option to him. We have seen how Eddie Garza, he can say that he has won multiples, 3. Yes, he's won 3 Cameron County races, 2 as a district clerk, once as a sheriff. One thing that I was always impressed with Eddie Garza was during his tenure at the district clerk's office, he was everywhere. For Christmas, for Valentine's, for Easter, for summer, for back to school, for Veterans Day. His office always made sure that they had some sort of community event with the name Eddie Garza, district clerk, all over the place. He did a great job of promoting himself. We saw how he wasn't able to win re-election as sheriff. Does Eddie Garza have the same support he once had? Another thing that I just spoke about is money. Steve Guerra has money. $250,000 ready to blow. Eddie Trevino, easily a quarter, easily for this primary, easily. They'll probably pump 100. They'll probably pump 100 and then another 50 for the runoff, something like that. Does Eddie Garza have those deep pockets? They say a big reason why Eddie Garza was able to win against Omar Lucio was because he had the support of the Gracias. Again, you're not going to outwork a Gracia. You're not going to outspend a Gracia. The Gracias have their own race to focus on. And from what we learned, there wasn't a good parting of ways, so to speak. Does Eddie Garza still have the same support throughout the county that he once did? We don't know. He is a great campaigner, has proven that he can win multiple county-wide races. But to me, the factor with Eddie Garza is money. Does he have $100,000 ready to blow? Possibly, maybe. Is he just in as to force a runoff? That's what Juan Montoya was kind of alluding to, that people were saying this. Does Steve Guerra have support throughout the county? There are people that are going to be put under a microscope. Silvia Garza Perez. Silvia Garza Perez runs or ran in the same circle as Eddie Trevino, ran in the same circle that Abel Gomez ran. She herself is a powerhouse. Now she has her own primary to worry about. Will that be her excuse for not getting involved in this race? Possibly. Is Steve offering something to her? I don't know. There is that picture of them dining out there. According to insiders, Silvia Garza Perez is Team Eddie. Now, the excuse that I anticipate she'll use is, I'm running my race. I'm busy. That's a good excuse. At the end of the day, it's all about support, right? It's all about support. We have seen how people have commented on Steve Guerra's page on Facebook. People are excited. Does Steve Guerra have the support? I find it funny because here's a picture. I find it funny because I see Judge Trevino. I picture him with his arms crossed, back against the wall, and just staring people down. It's like, oh yeah, motherfucker. Oh yeah. You know, like Training Day? Training Day was like, I'm King Kong. That's how I think Judge Trevino is right now. He's like, oh yeah, you're questioning me. Chapulín, estás brincando. Ah, okay. Is Silvia Garza going to get involved? Insiders say no, she wouldn't dare do that. She's going to say that she's going to focus on her race. That's the best thing for her to do. The smartest thing for her to do. But what about Judge Manny Trevino? Again, Sheriff Trevino was in or is in those circles of Silvia and Judge Trevino. I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing that they're going to anticipate his support. And just the way they worked hard for his election, that they're going to be expecting Sheriff Trevino to work just as hard as they worked his campaign. It's all about support, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about support. Now, one thing that we can question or we want to question is, what about Congressman Vicente Gonzalez? He's kind of in the middle of this. He has made it known to Judge Eddie Trevino that he's not going to get involved, that Steve's his own person, and Steve's going to focus on his race, and the congressman is going to focus on his race. At the end of the day, you know, the congressman does have a primary opponent. Eddie Trevino doesn't believe that. Insiders have stated that the reason why Steve Guerra was waiting to announce was because he was going to wait until the congressman made his announcement. The congressman, being an incumbent, waited to the 11th hour, I would dare say, to declare that he's going to be running once again. We have previously stated how these individuals were wanting to form a slate. There was talks out of D.C. that Vicente Gonzalez, Steve Guerra, and Pedrito Cárdenas either sought a meeting with Ted Cruz and propositioned that they would run as Republicans. That was shot down by Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, but that's what our sources in D.C. told us, and we believe it to be true because Steve was flirting with the idea of running as a Republican. There is no doubt about that. But the question remains, does Steve Guerra have the support of Congressman Vicente Gonzalez in this race? Are they going to campaign together? Is Vicente Gonzalez is going to be true to his word that he told Eddie Trevino that if Steve Guerra were to run, he's not going to get involved. Politics is every man for himself, Patricia Hernandez. May the best man win. Critics of Steve Guerra are questioning, can he win a county race? The Port of Brownsville elections, we have seen how candidates have gone. We have seen how the candidates have for the Port of Brownsville. I think Steve got like 5,000 votes at most. Many people are questioning, is Steve Guerra capable of winning a county-wide race? There is no question that he has support throughout. But people are questioning, is he able to win a county race? He's won with 5,000 votes. Now, one of the biggest arguments against Judge Trevino is it's time for change. I started today's program with saying that being a politician is difficult. You have to make tough choices, and it is a position that maybe you might not always get right. Maybe you might not please everyone. But the goal is prosperity, progress. We want to stimulate our economy. We want to boom. We want people to build here. We want people to come visit, spend their money locally. We want Brownsville to grow. We want Cameron County to flourish. Can Eddie Trevino say that during his tenure? Many environmentalists have been up in arms because of SpaceX, because of the LNG plants. And I understand. I'm on the island every day. It's an eyesore to drive past Highway 48 every day. I kind of want to close my eyes and say, no. On the flip side of it, the city of Brownsville, Cameron County, has seen a multi-billion-dollar investments from the likes of SpaceX and LNG. Commissioner's Court did go up against the grain. They chose to make the tough decision to say, we understand our community is going to be up in arms, but we feel as if we build this liquid gas plant in the sum of hundreds of millions of dollars, this area will benefit greatly. Eddie Trevino, say what you want. And look, we may be on the opposite sides of the spectrum. I remember when Carlos Cascos ran against Eddie Trevino and the whole Tenasca thing came. If I was a betting man, I would bet the farm on Cascos. I would say there's no way. There's no way Eddie Trevino is going to win. No way. Mm-mm. So much baggage. He ended up winning. He has shown that he's got the money and he's got the support. This three-way race is going to be one for the ages. We titled today's program, The Thrilla in Manila. How do you feel about these candidates? Critics are saying that Eddie Garza couldn't handle the sheriff's office and he wants to handle all of Cameron County. Please. Critics are saying Steve Guerra has only accumulated 5,000 votes for the Port of Brownsville. Is he able to win a county race? Please. Eddie Trevino has shown time in and time out that he wins. I think he's won at every level. That's how strong he is. There is no question that starting today, we are going to see people start choosing their horse. We've already seen how Abel Gomez is rallying behind Steve Guerra. How's the sheriff going to align himself? How is Silvia Garza going to align herself? Who has the support county-wide? In Port Isabel, the Cantus, they're going to support Eddie Trevino. Judge Trevino has been there for the Cantus, and they know it. Judge Trevino is counting on people to bring him home once again. I understand that people are saying that we need change. It's a valid argument. It is an argument that is made whenever we have someone in office for more than 2 terms. Are you satisfied with the direction that Cameron County is in right now? I think of Eddie Trevino as the prince in Italian philosophers, the Italian philosopher Machiavelli book, The Prince. Is it favored to be loved by your people? Or is it better to be respected? Being a politician is tough. You make those tough calls. But when it all's said and done, people depend on leadership, on a mayor, on a county judge to provide opportunity. One thing that we can't argue against is Eddie Trevino can show you a multi-billion-dollar investment in this area. It's going to be a race for the ages, ladies and gentlemen. The Thrilla in Manila. How will you vote in the 2026 Democratic primary? If you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frank Olivo TV. Best believe we will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., sometimes a little bit after, religiously. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to tune in. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope to see you here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace!